Modi is the most popular global leader yet again, enjoying a popularity in the country of 76% approval rating. Those who don't want him are 18% and 6% did not give any opinion. The global leader approval rating tracker positions Prime Minister Modi as numero uno by far. Interestingly, the Swiss president comes in at number 2. Alain Berset has a 64% approval rating. The Mexican president Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador comes in at number 3 with 61%. For context, the American president Joe Biden has a 40% approval rating, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau 37%, the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak at 27%, and France's president Emmanuel Macron comes in at 24%. So there's something very special at play. The question is, from a branding, marketing, communications perspective, what is it? To talk about that and to decode brand Modi, we've got Dilip Charan. Dilip, welcome. We've got India's #1 pollster, Pradeep Gupta, Managing Director at Axis My India, Santosh Desai, well-known author, columnist, marketing guru, and Sajan Raj Kakarup, founder and creative chairman of Creative Land Asia. I want to start by asking Santosh to explain what you think is the secret and behind the success of brand Modi. After 2 elections, even the likes of Margaret Thatcher, Tony Blair had a tough third election. Why is it that Prime Minister Modi, from a communications marketing perspective, seems to have a Teflon coating where anti-incumbency doesn't seem to be creeping in as far as Pradeep's polls are concerned, C-vote or any other polling that we look at?
So if you look at any strong brand, what are the prerequisites of a strong brand? The one is that the strong brand has a very strong, coherent idea at its core. That idea must speak to some fundamental, deep motivation that connects to a lot of people. And then that brand must manifest itself in as many ways as possible, keeping itself current. So if you were to look at these three dimensions, I think if you look at brand Modi, at its heart is the idea of a certain amount of strength and clarity. I think if I was to look at it as against politicians that are seen to be compromising, waffling, unclear, hedging bets, that is their image. There is a certain decisiveness and clarity about Modi from his days as a chief minister in Gujarat. So I think there is this very strong, and that is rooted, and that idea of strength in particular takes on more than one dimension. One of them is governance, but the other is, it is the motivation it speaks to, I think, is a long sense of historical injustice that has been nurtured by the majority community in India, by the Hindu community. There is also a sense of, if I may go as far as to say, masculine inadequacy. And there is a sense of a powerful, strong, decisive leader who makes up for their own lack and their sense of insecurity. Here's somebody you can look up to. Here's somebody who's firm, clear, absolutely clear. So that is the connection between the two, which is a visceral connection. It goes beyond the ups and downs of policy. It goes underneath that and connects Modi with a large section of India in a very powerful way. The next element I think that is important is his understanding of brands, brand building, his very powerful use of symbols, his ability to turn relatively sort of routine events into these mega promotional events. The G20 being an example, I call it relatively routine only because the presidency is by rotation. Last year was Indonesia, next year is Brazil. So it's hardly as if there is some great recognition of India having arrived. It's just a matter of India's time. But the way in which that is used, I think it's incredible. So I think his ability to perpetually sort of stay in the news in the right way, plus he is helped a lot by you guys. I mean, politely speaking, you are friendly to this present government. And there isn't a possibility of a counter movement. You ask me how we last so long without any stutters. Part of the reason, very strong reason, is the fact that there is nobody to challenge him. You guys certainly don't.
Okay. Dilip Charan, powerful leaders, popular leaders. Sheila Dikshit, you come from Delhi. By the end of 15 years, people just had enough. There's talk of anti-incumbency against the likes of Shivraj Singh Chauhan. We'll know about this election, but last time there was. And Raman Singh in Chhattisgarh. What is it about brand Modi that keeps him fresh, relevant, and looking new and looking stronger than his opponents?
Well, we just had Sharad Pawar on stage, who's been eternal, consistent and present and relevant for whatever period. Okay? But I think brand Modi works on a very sound corporate principle. The principle is repeat, rinse, repeat. He has managed to make sure that he is on message. When he shifts message, it isn't something that he acknowledges, it's just a new message. So never concede that there was anything wrong. That's one principle of branding which he's holding on to. Santosh spoke about...
Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? That never concede, like this extremist, maximalist position that nothing is ever wrong.
Coke is very bad. But does Coke ever concede that sugar is bad? No. So it's that principle. If you're a great brand, you've got to take a position and you've got to keep enhancing that position. On the side, you do the other stuff to make sure that your market share is maintained. The second thing is lack of an opposition, which means no brand attempting to take his place. And number three is environment management. I won't use a more polite word than that, but the fact is that it is not Teflon coating. There's a difference between Teflon coating and not being called out for what is wrong. So with these advantages, you can keep a brand continually salient for a long period of time, and because of the fact that you are viscerally connecting to some lack in the vast majority of people, they will keep doing the rah-rah for you on a continuous basis.
Pradeep,
But do you think that, in every election, he has sort of reinvented himself? In 2014, his motto was different. He built his image and his brand, on Gujarat model. He presented Gujarat model. He said that he is a Vikas Purush. In 2019, it became a decisive leader who can take action against Pakistan. Is it that reinvention of his image has always helped him, and that is the reason why he's still unchallenged by the opposition leaders?
I think he knows how to tackle every single thing as an opportunity. I remember when he started work on Vibrant Gujarat and called me to say, we have to do this, the sheer vision of it. At that time, no multinationals were looking at Gujarat. And he said, I want 18 of these companies, and he had a list of 40, and he wanted 18 of them. When he did Gift City, again, he wanted 200 journalists in the middle of nowhere.
But it is not successful. The Gift City is not successful yet.
But
despite that, he could build that.
He got them there. He made sure the event was mega. The fact is that you got to dream big and then throw the resources to make sure that it is big. What happens as a result, he's moved on already. To your point about changing messages, he's moved on but he's moving in a consistent and, shall I say, a very high-powered trajectory, almost like Chandrayaan.
Pradeep Gupta, your polls reflect why Prime Minister Modi is as popular as he is. Let me turn the proposition on its head and ask you, what do the polls reveal about the weaknesses of brand Modi?
So Rahul, before coming to the weaknesses, let me put it forward as you asked the other panelists, what is brand Modi? Why Modi is Modi? What is there, right? Modi is all about winning election after election, that's true. And in branding, the most important part is to understand your target audience. Yeah. So we need to understand first what is election. Election is nothing. Winning election is about winning hearts of the people, and it cannot be fake. I'm underlining word, it cannot be fake. That's the first and foremost thing. And now we need to understand India, our electors, the voters, who are they, which is the target audience for that matter. So every one of us knows there is construct of 70% rural India and 30% urban India. When I say 70% rural India, I am talking about 600,000, 6 lakhs plus villages. And when I say 30% contribution of urban India, which is 6,500 cities and towns. So this is the India. And 100 vote cast. Those who turn out to vote, last time in 2019 election, 67% was the turnout. 80% 80% of this 67% belong to rural and poor. What is their state? Please understand this. 10 years back, they were struggling, their smoke-filled kitchen, वो खाना जो है wood और कोल में बनाते हैं. उनके घर पे नल से पानी नहीं आता है, 2 किलोमीटर वुमेन को ट्रेवल करना होता है. आपने कभी देखा है कोई मेल मेंबर को अपने सर के ऊपर पानी रखते हुए? नहीं देखा है. आप ये देखिए कि दे गो इन ओपन डिफिकेशन, वो खुले में शौच में जाते हैं. वुमेन की हालत ये है कि दे हैव टू डील विद लॉट्स ऑफ एट्रोसिटीज एट होम. दिस इज द स्टेट. देन कमिंग टू द हाउसिंग, they don't have the house. So this is the state, and they live less than $100 a month. These 80%, they live less than $100 a month. This is the reality of the electors of the India. 80% I am talking about, those who turn out for the vote. Now coming, what is there in Modi? So I would summarize in one word, it is intent. Intent, one point agenda, development of country and countrymen. Now what he has done, everybody knows in last 10 years. And most importantly, one side is this, the other side is, though everybody say he does not have the family, I am talking about the intent. He does not have the family. No, he has the family, he has the brothers, he has the mother. And if you see this, he is celebrating Diwali with Jawans at border. What does it mean? He is not celebrating Diwali or the festival with his mother or with his brother or the family. 1. 2. When he goes abroad and meet the Indian diaspora, he was recently last year in Norway, he used word 15 times. आप क्या मेरी एक मदद करोगे? आप मेरी एक बात सुनोगे? He used this word 15 times. And what he is asking for? He said, आप कम से कम 10-10 लोगों को इंडिया में लेके आइए, इंडिया में विजिट कर दिए. ही इज प्रमोटिंग इंडिया देयर, राइट? एंड इंटरनेशनल एंड बिजनेस अफेयर, एवरी वन ऑफ अस हियर नोज. आई डोंट नीड टू रिपीट दैट. सो दिस इज द मोदी, and he has established himself as CWE in branding sense, what we say, chief wage earner, because this 80% livelihood is largely depend on government of the day. Whether it's the road, education, electricity, water, electricity and water for irrigation, PDS, everything. So he himself is positioned and established as chief wage earner of the family. So this is the Modi, and that is the reason why he ruled the hearts of the people and winning after winning.
Pradeep Gupta, you said, आपने एक शब्द का इस्तेमाल किया that he knows his audience well, right?
Yeah.
ये audience क्या है? What is his audience? Is it it's by and large the way people see that, a lot of his current speeches, he made it a point that he is a Hindutva icon. He speaks about that particular topic. So is it a particular audience? He means to be the majority community of this country. Is that his audience?
Audience is the whole country. Every citizen of the country is his audience. And in terms of electors, of course, those who are exceeding the age of 18 years, what is most important, it's very simple. There is no rocket science in this. If I purchase this pen to write, the moment I stop writing, I will throw it or replace it, isn't it? It is as simple as that. So he has to see to it, he address or take care all the section of the societies. हिंदू एंड ऑल दैट आप छोड़ दीजिए. यदि हिंदू मुसलमान होता तो बीजेपी जो है 90s के अंदर ही, जब बाबरी मस्जिद और राम जन्मभूमि हुआ, बीजेपी कुड नॉट क्रॉस 182 मार्क्स. Forget the majority.
So you think they don't win because of Hindutva, they win because of development? That's your principal political theory?
100%. Now to give you counter, what is there with Naveen Patnaik? Where is Hindu Muslim? Where is the visibility? Where is the organization? Where is that state, Odisha, poor of poorest state? Why is it winning after one after another, 5 consecutive election, and every time he is winning with more number of seats? Why? You need to see this.
But दोनों के speech पे तो फर्क होता है. जिस तरीके से नवीन पटनायक भाषण करते हैं, जिस तरीके से प्राइम मिनिस्टर भाषण करते हैं या बीजेपी से कोई भाषण, उसमें तो फर्क होता है। तो उसके हिसाब से तो ऑडियंस डिसाइड होगा। ऐसा नहीं है कि दोनों का ऑडियंस एक जैसा है। नवीन पटनायक उड़ीसा में माइनॉरिटी पॉपुलेशन है ही कितना, 3 से 4%।
मैं वापस वही आपको कहना चाह रहा हूं कि हिंदू मुसलमान उस सब से किसी का और रिलीजन से भी किसी का पेट नहीं भरता है। उससे उड़ीसा में भी कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है और इंडिया में भी कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है और कंट्री के किसी हिस्से में भी कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। आपको मैं एक सिंपल एग्जांपल दे देता हूं। आप किसी भी इंडिया के मंदिर के बाहर खड़े हो जाइए, आप वहां पे सुबह से शाम तक जितने लोग भी इनसाइड गए उसमें रूरल और पुअर आप पाएंगे 10% लोग भी नहीं गए। तो ये आप या जो भी इसकी बात करते हैं कि मोदी इज विनिंग बिकॉज ऑफ HM यानी हिंदू मुस्लिम या हिंदुज्म के लिए, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है। ऐसा होता तो कांग्रेस 60 साल तक रूल नहीं कर रही होती। RSS जो हिंदुज्म की बात कर रहा है वो 1925 से कर रहा है।
Raj, what part of the allure of brand Modi is down to the characteristics of the personality and his messaging, and what part glitters brighter because of the lack of political efficacy of his opponents? If he was up against an equally formidable competitor, would brand Modi still look as strong, or do you think he looks stronger because of the state of the Indian opposition?
See, to understand brand Modi, you have to understand what is brand to this country. One, I feel that brand is a foreign concept, right? India as a country, there are only two ways that we have understood products. One, familiarity, and the other one is culture. आप अगर भारत में देखोगे, ठंडा मतलब राइट, नमक मतलब टाटा मतलब नमक, राइट, आपको समझ में आ जाएगा। सिमिलरली मोदी मतलब राइट, सरकार, राइट। सो देयर इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इनक्रेडिबली इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग्स दैट हैज हैपेंड इज द फैक्ट दैट जेनरिक्स हैव ऑलवेज वर्कड इन दिस कंट्री, राइट। पानी बोलूंगा तो आपको पता है बॉटल कौन सा याद आएगा, राइट। सो इन यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ दिस कंट्री अंडरस्टैंड्स ब्रांड्स. So the moment, and I completely agree with Pradeep ji that when you look at, there are two parts to the country. There is a Vedantic concept of Samruddhi and Saundarya. Samruddhi is in the 70% that we are speaking about. This is where the prosperity comes from, the 70%. That's the mool, that's the root of this country. And Saundarya is the urbanization and our entire ambition. Here is a man, and here is a brand that has been able to bridge मन की बात से लेकर मून की बात तक. जिस दिन मेरे घर जब चंद्रयान हुआ था, दूध वाला आया था बीच में पूछ रहा मेरे को कि सर लैंड हुआ. When was Chandrayaan relevant to a milkman? So the most interesting thing we talk about, every marketing room I go into, there is always a conversation about pop culture. We want to be part of pop culture. He is pop culture in 70% of this country, right? You may have multiple points of view, opinions about, where you stand, what you do, but fundamentally, the most fundamental, marketing principle that we have today, engagement. This brand has engaged you through the adverse times, to interesting times, to things that were irrelevant to you. G20 किसको पता था भाई, right? Chandrayaan कब, when was it so relevant कि भाई India is on the moon, So
do you think he's better at marketing than you?
Sir, 150%. See, and it's not marketing, you have to understand culture. See, like I told you, this country is not about marketing. This country is about culture. Look at where the man comes from. And it's very important to understand where somebody comes from, because हमारे पास opinion रहेगा. You understand these things way better than somebody like me. We are behind the scenes people, right? But fundamentally, if you look at it, for something to become pop culture takes immense amount of intent, for sure. It has to be relevant. People talk about terms are irrelevant. Time. Gandhi ji ka ek time tha. He was relevant at that point in time. It was very important he became pop culture. Indira ji ka bhi ek time tha. This is the time where, and it doesn't come out of anything else but the intent of people.
So you mentioned the moon landing episode, that how, the communist people were involved and, they were curious about what is happening there. Is it something that creating an event around a thing which which even the common man can get involved. Is that the reason why this brand has been built so?
See, which is what I'm saying. See, that's what I'm saying. I always try to go away from the concept of brand. This is culture. This is pop culture. You have to understand, हम लोग pop culture is always used in the urban terms, right? हम लोग rural में pop culture नहीं सोचते. What is interesting is that the fact that anything this man touches becomes a brand, right? And that is an incredibly interesting. And I'm not talking about just here. This is globally. I spend a lot of time in London. You must hear the conversation that happens. I'm amazed sometimes, saying that because when there are people and who are probably walking the political corridors over there as well. It's incredible to see the point of view that people have. Never before have we seen a leader from this nation with this magnitude having such strong, diverse, whatever point of views. But the fact of the matter is that he is keeping every single person engaged.
Okay, so let's now flip the proposition on its head and talk about the weaknesses of the brand. And does the opposition have its strategy right? So for example, if this is the unassailable, super strong brand that you're up against, do you think the opposition is attacking it at the right places? What is the opposition doing right, wrong? What is the Achilles heel of this brand if you were now devising the counter strategy?
The only thing that you can devise at this point of time is rely either on the sudden emergence of a strong and, shall we say, somebody with a huge upsurge of charisma. That's one possibility. The other thing which the opposition sadly is reduced to relying on is the boredom factor. That look, after a certain period of time, every brand begins to age.
Yeah.
This brand has revived itself for 13 years.
Someone mentioned Coke. Coke hasn't really aged in that sense. It still is relevant.
Coke today recognizes that its competition is kombucha. It's not another drink.
Sure.
Okay. So the fact is that you are talking today of the opposition recognizing that they don't have anything to really counter it. Okay. So the sadness of being in the opposition today is that you're relying on boredom. That's dangerous.
Is that the only thing that they're looking out for, Santosh Desai? Do you see an Achilles heel? What are the weaknesses of the branding and marketing strategy?
Actually, honestly, not easy to find because I think they've got all their bases covered, and including what Dilip politely referred to as environmental management, which is important. I think that particularly for 2024, I mean, the only hope that the opposition has is not at the brand level, but at the level of arithmetic. The fact that you cobble together enough numbers and you might just pip him to the post. It's a long shot, but that's at a brand level. The problem is that, I mean, it was striking that, Mr. Pawar, the best thing that he could say about Rahul Gandhi was that people have started taking him seriously. That's a really low bar for a politician. I mean, if that is the best you can say about the leading opposition sort of contender.
No, but doesn't that happen always? When Indira Gandhi was such a strong brand, opposition struggled with having a unified brand of their own. To counter Indira Gandhi. Indira Gandhi used to always say that वो कहते हैं इंदिरा हटाओ मैं कहती हूँ गरीबी हटाओ. Such kind of slogans she used to build. Is the opposition getting into the same trap again? What they had a problem with Indira Gandhi, now looking at the 2024?
I think so. I think it's a similar structure in many ways. The fact that, see, when you're faced with a really strong leader who has mass appeal, I think it's very difficult unless you have, as Dilip said, a leader who's capable of challenging that. In Indira Gandhi's case, she made a mistake. So what you're really depending on is for the BJP to trip up. And that doesn't seem likely to happen. I mean, and that's what happened. In the Indira Gandhi's case, it is a self-inflicted kind of for her. The fact that she announced emergency and that kick-started, in a sense, a groundswell of opposition. And people who were nobody came to the fore and became
Interestingly, when she announced election, nobody realized that it has actually worked against her.
Exactly.
When the election results came, then people realized that what she had done actually had worked
unleashed
against her.
that. Yes.
And also, he is backed by a think tank which is 100 years of wanting to rule.
Yeah.
That hunger.
Yeah.
Pradeep Gupta, what does the data tell you in terms of the weaknesses of brand Modi?
I, I think I can't say weakness, but his, at times his silence on certain matters, I would say that is something is a weakness. Like I'll tell you, in Modi 1, 14 to 19, there was cow vigilantes, he came very strongly against them. And after that, you can't see those kind of incidents. Then you saw Pragya Thakur, Bhopal MP. She used some, bad things
Against
about
Gandhi.
Yeah, he came very strongly. But Nupur Sharma case for that. But of course, there was an international pressure.
No, but sir,
also.
this is really interesting. I mean, on one hand, he said that वो मन से कभी माफ नहीं कर पाएंगे, but she was given a ticket, Lok Sabha ticket. She's still fighting a trial in MCOC court. How do people differentiate that? What he said about Pragya Singh Thakur and giving her a ticket and getting her elected from Bhopal.
Now, that's what I'm saying, Sahil. She was given a ticket before, and after that she made this comment, and Modi and BJP was very strong against her at that point of time. So she is quite after that, And if you see the woman wrestler case against Brajmohan, then you see the Lakhimpur Kheri case against Theni. Then you see recently this Ramesh Vidudi. And Manipur also. He kept silent for a very long time. He should have taken remedial action or whatever need to be. So I think had he has taken all these things also strongly, he would have been in a totally different league altogether, I would say, though still today he is. But he would have been the real statement, I would say.
Raj, what are the weaknesses you see in the branding and marketing strategy of the Prime Minister and the BJP at the moment?
See, strategies, I always look for is there a weakness in the product first, right? Because that's what's representative of elections. Fundamentally, I feel that one of the only weakness that I see is there is an utopian sort of aspiration for this country that is in that product, right? And that is going to be uncompromising. And sometimes in politics, there is a certain amount of compromises that you make. That is the only Achilles heel that I see, because here's somebody and I've seen some from close quarters that will be uncompromising on some of the aspiration that the person may have for the larger cause, and that's the only thing that I see as playing up as some sort of a weakness. Strategies are always reinventable.
If I may just, on the further thought, I think one of the potential, I don't think it's a weakness yet, but the problem with having somebody who stars over everybody else and where there is no opposition is the fact that there is absolutely no feedback. And you live in your voice is heard in a vacuum. It kind of, it dominates everything else. And there is the danger of potentially of what is the primary source of strength becoming a weakness. I don't see it happening yet. But I think the fact is that there is no media to tell him that, what he's doing wrong. There's nobody in his party who can, So this whole sense that, and there is fear. I mean, let's be very clear. Let's admit it. There is fear all around. Fear hides a lot of things. So right now, I don't think it is hiding anything. I mean, I don't think so. But potentially in the future, if things begin to change, it will be very difficult to discern that very often because of the fact that there is a sort of silence which is not
It
voluntary.
happened in China, Dilip, what Santosh is saying, that Xi Jinping becomes so prominent and so powerful that he starts making policy mistakes, and he's saying that this could be one of the concerns to be on the lookout for. It hasn't happened yet, but could potentially be a pitfall going forward.
If you read between the lines of what Pradeep said, the last 3 episodes where there has been no reaction is because nobody has told him that on Manipur, on the wrestlers, you should respond. That's not happening.
No, but can I counter that to say it is bad strategy if it hurts you? There is no empirical evidence to suggest that
It
it's
has worked
hurt him
against
so
him.
far.
Yeah.
Pradeep Gupta is saying what he is from his gut. He's not saying it from data.
No. What I'm saying
What data
is,
point do you have
See,
as evidence to
Rahul,
prove
it's not that there is no question of data. It's all about intent. You have to try things in the perspective. That's what your job is.
No,
And-
sure. So that's
and-
your opinion, which is fine, which is different from the data because there's no data to suggest not speaking out.
I agree. I agree. Let's assume that there is no data. But when you have a certain behavioral pattern as a brand, there is an expectation of that brand. When that weakens, it begins to crumble and you don't listen to the sounds of the crumbling cookie.
No,
No,
so
but
fine.
can't it be a strategy, Can't it be a strategy that, sometimes deliberately the politicians do not comment on a particular issues? Because they think that if they comment, it may, backfire with respect to the people who are supporting them, with respect to the voters. Do you think it's a strategy or it is?
You asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking anyone who wants to take this.
It's not a strategy. See, it's a party, and there are so many party men. When you say party men, they are member of your family. So at times you have to, in the interest of family, you have to sometimes keep quiet.
No, so
But
finally-
it doesn't. In a long term, it is not good for the
Santosh,
brand.
If you look at it in an international context,
No, so I certainly think it is personal brand strategy for his part. Never to apologize, never to bend, and never be seen. In fact, not to be subject to questions also.
but
As
that's
we've
not
seen.
correct. On the farm laws, for example, he did backtrack. On
Very
land
reluctantly,
acquisition, he did
very
backtrack.
reluctantly after the amount of dislocation that took place, enormous amount of dislocation, extremely reluctantly. It's the exception rather than the rule.
Okay, so in the international context, if you look at another leader, say Margaret Thatcher, Tony, anybody who's been as popular as they have over 2 terms, anti-incumbency caught up, what is it in a historical international context that you think he's done differently, which hasn't let anti-incumbency catch up with him so far?
No, I think the fact that he has, it is very important to recognize that there is a genuine organic connection that he has with people. I mean, everything else we can talk in terms of strategy, but there is, at the heart of it, is something real and something large that he has. But on top of it, there is very careful both management of the larger narrative as well as the narrative, the ground level management of each micro element. I think the BJP manages to do that extremely well. They are able to convert, and the opposition is always kept on the defensive. They can take innocuous things and turn them into something sinister. Toolkit suddenly becomes this word which is like really dangerous, some commonplace everyday word in a template that you use in presentations suddenly becomes this national conspiracy. But they have the ability to do that. So the number of devices and instruments that they bring to bear in order to continue the strength. In fact, very difficult to manage strength. Managing strength is one of the most difficult things in the world. I think Modi and BJP do it exceptionally well.
Okay, so we're out of time. We've had
Rahul, one just quick comment. Why it is not diminishing the Modi, this thing I'll tell you. People may forget what you say. People may forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them felt. So this is what is the brand Modi. And this is where the larger section of the society is railing behind it.
I think that's deep advice. Not just relevant to branding, marketing, or communications, but to life as well. People will forget what you said or what you did, but they'll never forget how they made you feel. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your insights. Thank you.
You are watching India Today, powered by Finest Be Sustainable Change, a B&P Group company.
Colors by Cola makes you wish everything was as vibrant. Colors by Cola makes you wish everything was as vibrant. Colors by Cola makes you wish everything was as vibrant.
Hello and welcome to a special broadcast that we're bringing to you. Just a few hundred meters is Gaza behind me. It's day 18 of Israel's operations against the Hamas. Suspense continues to build over whether a ground operation, an all-elusive ground invasion of Gaza is going to happen and whether it's even feasible for Israel. I've been here for the last few days reporting from across Israel and the Palestinian territories to bring you frontline war reportage of what's going to happen. Over the next half hour, everything that's been happening on day 18.
Israeli tanks and troops enter Gaza. Full-blown invasion next. From Gaza frontline.
Special Forces warriors of the kind depicted in shows like Fauda are inside the Gaza Strip conducting a first wave of operations against the Hamas.
To West Bank.
This ancient church usually bears a look on this square when thousands upon thousands of tourists and pilgrims, this Palestinian city under control of the Palestinian Authority is completely empty.
Most exhaustive coverage of the war with Shivarur, live from the war zone.
The situation is most definitely heating up on the Gaza front lines. A couple of days ago, I had access to a hill that overlooked Gaza by just a few hundred meters. Today, that hill is completely cut off because it's been taken over by the army. All access points are difficult to access. This particular stretch of highway still overlooks Gaza, and that's Gaza in the background just a few hundred meters behind me. It's become a situation that is precarious. Lots of tanks, lots of M109 howitzer artillery guns, lots of armored personnel carriers line different pockets of this highway that we've been traveling on that runs parallel to the Gaza Strip. As we've been reporting here on India Today, the ground operation that everyone is so curious about, there's so much suspense about, has already actually begun. Commandos, as we speak, are inside Gaza conducting covert operations and assassination operations of Hamas operatives. But the big question is, when will there be a large-scale invasion, if any, of Gaza? Now, our information is that things are going to be much more calibrated than the two occasions in the past when Israel has invaded Gaza. Once in 2009 and then again in 2014. As per our understanding, after speaking with many experts, both serving and retired in the Israeli Defense Forces, this time everything has changed. All calculations have gone out of the window. Israel no longer has the appetite, perhaps, for a long-scale invasion where an end game or an exit strategy isn't in sight. Having said that, Israel is super focused on at least one big result, and that is the complete decimation of Hamas. But that continues to be easier said than done. From here on the ground with Gaza right behind me, the situation continues to remain tense because the army and the Israeli Defense Forces, who've been pounding Gaza, both from the air and from the sea, now wonder whether a large-scale ground invasion is actually going to result in the end game of the obliteration of Hamas. Quite apart from the fact that a major chunk of the Hamas leadership is sitting abroad in safe havens like Qatar and Iran, there is no real guarantee that the cutting edge of the Hamas has all been destroyed. Yes, it's true that many anti-tank commanders, many planning commanders have been killed in Gaza, the northern part of Gaza, which is actually visible right behind me. But the fact that the Hamas, at least visibly, continues to have its potency to attack. They're still using anti-tank weapons. They're still using drones with bombs. They still have their eyes on every move that the Israeli military is making. And remember that 18 days after that terror attack, in areas very close to the stretch I'm standing in, where a large number of the massacres took place and a large number of the hostages were taken, the Hamas is ever better prepared for whatever's coming before it. The hostage crisis inside Gaza continues to expand. Contrary to popular belief, the release of 2 and now 4 hostages has not alleviated tensions. It has only galvanized Israel even further. Will that push them into a large-scale ground invasion is the big question to ask. I'm in the city of Stero, which has been turned into a ghost town because this is the city of rocket shelters, a place that has been devastated, and everywhere there are empty houses. But in Israel, you can't walk very far without bumping into someone who's been part of the military and who has family who's in the military. I'm joined now by this gentleman who's with me here in Stero, who's not only been a part of the Israel army, but you have 2 sons,
I have 2 sons
in the Israel army. Tell me about that, sir.
I have 2 boys. They are basically in normal life. One of them is one of the top barmen in the country, and the other one is also manages a restaurant in Jerusalem. And on that terrible Saturday morning, they were called up after the initial attacks by the barbarian people. And they had to, at very short notice, go into...
Walk with me, yes.
Yeah. Had to go into the army.
Because you're a parent, you're a soldier, yes, but you're also a father. Israel is contemplating a ground offensive now. You obviously have mixed feelings. You're proud of your sons. You know they're going to do their duty. But this is a scary time. Take us through what kinds of emotions you feel right now.
There isn't a night that we've had in the last 2 weeks where we've slept. Every single alarm on our phone goes off at any time in the night, and we're worried about that they're going to be going in. We know that they have to go in because we have to get rid of this absolute bunch of monsters from the earth, right? If we all see what they've done, they're people that have kidnapped babies, our babies. They're absolutely horrendous things that they've done to us. And yes, there's definitely mixed feelings because you don't want your children to get hurt. But we have to finish this for the world.
As we speak, Special Forces warriors of the kind depicted in shows like Fauda are inside the Gaza Strip conducting a first wave of operations against the Hamas. We've got more details of what things are actually looking like in our reporting right along the Gaza frontline. Watch this report.